We're in the farthest corner of the city of Chicago. We're almost in Indiana at this point. The Potawatomi who lived here 200 years ago would have been super familiar with this kind of landscape. There are marshes, wet prairie, and then right where we are right now, we've got a succession of these sandy ridges and marshy swales, really what a lot of Chicago would have looked like.
This is the Calumet region. It's an area at the southern tip of Lake Michigan where all of these ancient ecosystems are intersecting.
Intersecting is a really great word because right here, a lot of things are going to intersect. So think of Indiana as a hardwood forest region. Think of Illinois as a tall grass prairie region. Think of Michigan as pine forests. And so you've got a lot of things coming together right here.
If all those things are coming together, maybe that makes this a diverse area in terms of biodiversity? Or
super diverse, actually. Okay. And in fact, the spot where we're standing right now is probably the most biodiverse spot in the city of Chicago and one of the most biodiverse spots in the state of Illinois.
The spot where we're standing is Powderhorn Marsh and Prairie. It's home to as many as 100 bird species and about 240 plants.
You come out of these black oaks, and then there's cattails ahead of us.
Because we sort of go down into a little bit wetter area?
Right.
Looking at the wetlands that once covered Chicago, we're reminded that this wasn't an ideal place to build a city.
In the 1830s, when the settlement was really getting going, one of its main nicknames was Mud Hole of the Prairies.
And, that's not a very attractive name.
There were jokes about guys who were like wallowing in the mud in the middle of the street in downtown Chicago, and somebody says, "Hey, get a horse." And he says, "I'm already on my horse." Should we go?
Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Once we leave Powderhorn Marsh, we start to get a different picture of this region. It's not all that natural.
South Shore Railroad comes through here. That's the electric lines. There's chemicals. There's a lot of automobiles being manufactured just up the street. I mean, here, for example, Henry Ford came in the 1920s and built this facility right next to us.
How did industry end up in this part of Chicago?
Well, there was a general perception that the land was really good for nothing. Kind of a place where you'd go if you wanted to step outside the law.
I see. The terrain, and it was kind of wet.
It was wet. It was not highly valued for agriculture. Okay. But the beaten path of American commerce came right to the area's doorstep. You know, starting in the 1850s, rail line after rail line after rail line came through. And it turned out that this region would be fabulous for both the manufacturing of railroad cars and the manufacturing of steel.
The factories left behind all kinds of industrial waste. And there are landfills around here too. But industry also preserved nature, if inadvertently. That's because industrialists bought more real estate than they needed. And all of their leftover land became a refuge for wildlife.
Oh, here we go.
Oh!
An American toad under a car floor mat.
Herpetologist Alan Resitar knows just how rich the region's wildlife can be.
The Calumet region has over 45 species of amphibians and reptiles. That's pretty fantastic.
He hunts for these treasures under other people's trash.
Somebody dumped these carpet tiles. When you're looking for amphibians and reptiles, having artificial cover like this is perfect.
So the junk on the side of the road is definitely not a good thing, but for you, it's something to look for.
Right, it's something to look for.
Can I ask you, is there anything we should be worried about finding?
There are no venomous snakes in this area of Chicago.
Just the occasional rusty nail.
Right. Yeah, you definitely need to have a current tetanus shot. And then here's some nice debris.
Oh, there.
Northern water snake. They get up to about 4 feet long. They have a pretty bad temper. The big ones always bite. I don't think I've ever caught a big one that hasn't bitten me first, but that just goes with the territory.
There's a reason why Alan finds this diversity of reptiles and amphibians here. It comes back to those intersecting ecosystems that Mark told us about.
As you're going from west to east, you go from pure prairie areas to areas that are just closed in eastern deciduous forest woodland.
So this local diversity in habitats then leads to
a high plant and animal diversity for the region.
Still, this region has its fair share of environmental challenges. This is a piece of Park District land known as Indian Ridge Marsh. These days, it's not so marshy.
This once was a really high quality wetland area right here. It's no longer a wetland. Over the intervening years, this has been used to dump things. So as you look around, you'll see there's like concrete and asphalt that have just been brought in to fill this area in.
But now restoration ecologists are working to nurse these wetlands back to health. One of their major challenges is invasive species, especially this one.
It's pretty much the Phragmites is the biggest thing.
Phragmites is public enemy number one around here.
It essentially moves into an area and displaces everything else that's there. If we can turn this around to the point where we can get rid of things like the Phragmites here, reestablish some of that high quality native marsh, we think we'll reestablish the conditions that will bring back a lot of the wildlife.
Some of the restorations are really pretty far advanced. Some have a long way to go, but they're being seen now as part of a whole landscape. And I think folks are really recognizing what is here. It's the coolness factor. You know, the old industrial landscape next to the marshes with the birds is really resonating. And that's why I think this is a nationally significant landscape.
Right.
The country needs to understand.
Urban Nature is made possible in part by the following: